Did you know each of these facts about all 31 NHL teams? What's up guys, welcome back to another video. In this one we're going to be breaking down some of the team's logos and jerseys and overall branding, and I'm going to share some interesting facts that I found about each of the 31 NHL teams. The Anaheim Mighty Ducks logo is one of the most well-known and classic logos in all of sports. And of course, in corporate feuds with Disney, Anaheim had to drop this logo. So in 2007, they went back to the drawing board to redo their logo, and after multiple attempts, they came to an agreement. Basically, their new logo, I mean, you might not have known, but it is actually a duck's foot. Not just a D, not just a weird web-shaped D, it's actually a duck's foot. And the colors on their jerseys right now are the black, the white, and the orange. The orange is in there because the Anaheim Ducks are from Orange County. Arizona's old alternate jersey is probably in your top 5 favorite jerseys. I mean, it's ugly, but at the same time, it's a creative masterpiece. One thing you may not have noticed though is in their old logo with the Kachina style coyote with the hockey stick, underneath it'll say Phoenix Coyotes in white text in a black box. That black box, if you look really closely, it's got round edges on all 4 corners, and that's actually supposed to be a hockey puck that it's standing on. The Boston Bruins logo is very classic. An original 6 team, the spoke B, yellow, black, and white. But did you know that the 8 spokes in the logo are actually there for a reason? In the mid-1800s, Boston author, physician, poet Oliver Wendell Holmes referred to the city-state house as the hub of the solar system. And although he passed away in 1894, never knew about the Boston Bruins, his words tie in with the logo. So there it is, all the spokes leading to Boston. For Buffalo, we're going to go back to their old jerseys, the black ones with the red and white and silver, and the Charging Buffalo logo. So this one actually had me confused for years and years. I had this huge revelation when my brain finally matured, and I realized that it's actually a charging bull and not a knight helmet looking the other way. And now that I pointed that out, you probably can't unsee that. Calgary. What's a fact for Calgary? Did you know I've never been to Calgary? That's not good. Calgary is actually a tough one. I mean, I did a ton of research on Calgary, finding something unique. Really nothing. They haven't changed their logo since they became the Calgary Flames from the Atlanta Flames. They just changed from an A to a C. But if you didn't know that, now you know. As you may know, one of their older alternate jerseys was a flaming horse on the front. You know, Calgary Cowboys, Calgary Stampede signify all those things, while tying into the Flames concept. So when that was their alternate jersey, the flaming horse was also on the shoulders. But then they changed and swapped out the flaming horse for the flags of Calgary and Alberta on each shoulder. So the Carolina Hurricanes are obviously known for their hurricane logo in the front, but you know they also rocked an alternate jersey. It was a black one with a flag. That one is actually a hurricane warning flag. And you also might see that little red and black squares along the bottom of their jerseys. Those are not just decorative. Those are actually hurricane warning flags that are used as part of the coastal warning display signals. As an original 6 team, you'd expect me to come up with an interesting fact about Chicago's logo. You know, maybe what do the feathers mean? Why are they different colors? Why is there so much controversy around their logo? So the Chicago Blackhawks were formed in 1926, and they were named after the 333rd Machine Gun Battalion of the 86th Infantry Division during World War I, which is nicknamed the Black Hawk Division. And this division was named after Chief Black Hawk, who was a Native American leader. So in my opinion, the Chicago Blackhawks name is a little bit more tasteful than some other names like the Washington Redskins. A couple weeks ago, Adidas unveiled their new jerseys. Colorado was one of the teams that got a pretty decent revamp. So as the Avalanche point out, the jersey is a modern take on the inaugural design. The hemline portrays the Rocky Mountains, and the use of silver in the jersey pays homage to the state's history of silver mining. The Columbus Blue Jackets are a very history-oriented team. The Blue Jackets name was selected because the name pays homage to Ohio's contributions in the American history and the great pride and patriotism exhibited by its citizens. I'm looking at you, NASHER. Ohio contributed more of its population to the Union Army than any other state, and many of the blue coats worn by Union soldiers were in fact manufactured in Columbus. Also, the primary Blue Jackets logo that was selected features a star-studded red ribbon unfurled in the shape of the team's initials, CBJ, with an electric green hockey stick cutting through the center representing the J. The 13 stars represent each of the original 13 U.S. colonies, and the star on top of the stick signifies Columbus as the Ohio state capital. The Dallas Stars logo is probably one of the most self-explanatory and easy to understand logos in the National Hockey League. The city of Dallas's nickname is the Big D. Oh, what a surprise! On the logo, there's a big D. Not that kind. And what's the team mascot? A star. What's behind the D? A star. Dallas Stars. Also, the color is really terrible on this webcam, but the green that they chose is actually called Victory Green. Ironically, they have yet to win a Stanley Cup with those colors. In 1932, a millionaire named James Norris, yes, the same James Norris in which the trophy is named after, bought the Detroit Red Wings. Norris had been a member of the Montreal Amateur Athletic Association, a sporting club with cycling roots. Norris decided that a version of their logo was perfect for a team playing in the Motor City, Detroit's nickname. And on October 5th, 1932, the club was renamed the Red Wings. The Edmonton Oilers haven't really changed their logo since their inception. I mean, they've changed the colors within, but the actual shape and text of the logo hasn't changed at all. Now, if you don't know why the Oilers logo looks dripping, you know, oil drips when it spills, so it's like an oil spill effect kind of, which is kind of cool. But a more interesting fact that I think, in their lesser known alternate jerseys with the oil meteorite strike, there's actually 5 bolts around the meteor, and those 5 bolts signify the 5 Stanley Cups that the Oilers have won to date. Did you know that there are Panthers in Florida? Well, I didn't, and apparently the Florida Panthers are named after the endangered panther species that resides in the Everglades. The Florida Panther is also the state animal, and currently there's only about 200 Florida Panthers left in the wild to date. The LA Kings have a rich history filled with Wayne Gretzky's and cups and the ugliest jerseys in NHL history. It's called the Burger King jersey because the logo on the top left of the chest somewhat resembles the Burger King Man mascot. And the best news of this was the jersey was gone as fast as it came. Minnesota Wild logo is very interesting. It depicts both a forest landscape as well as the silhouette of a wild animal. So these are the kinds of logos that are my favorite because it communicates, you know, what the team is, but also the meaning behind the logo. So the eye of the wild animal, people don't even know what kind of animal it is. Is it a bear? Is it a dog? Is it a mountain lion? Is it, I don't know. Nobody knows. They just call it the wild animal. So basically, in the eye of the wild animal is the North Star, in tribute to the departed Minnesota North Stars, as well as the state's motto, L'Étoile du Nord, meaning the Star of the North. Inside the logo as well, you might also be able to spot some trees, I hope you can spot those, as well as a river running through the wild animal's mouth. With Adidas unveiling the new jerseys, Montreal's didn't change that much, but a subtle feature that did change was a nice little quote inside the collar near the back of the jersey. So this is a quote in French from the famous World War I poem In Flanders Fields. This quote translates to a line from that poem, "To you from failing hands we throw the torch." This quote is also seen in the Habs dressing room. The poem was written in 1915, the year the Habs won their first Stanley Cup, and a passing of the torch ceremony occurs at every Canadian season home opener. My discussion on Nashville is a bit ironic because in my ranking the new Adidas jersey video, I had them at the very bottom, number 31. What I do like is they've incorporated some subtle details to communicate and represent themselves as the Music City, as they're known. So, across the numbers, you'll notice 6 lines. Those aren't just little lines that, you know, they've incorporated to look different. They're actually 6 strings of the guitar. The secondary patch on their jerseys incorporates a guitar pick, and on the back of their sweaters, inside the collar, just like Montreal, they have a cool little design. So instead of a phrase, they've actually got piano keys in there. Those are little touches that I love that make Nashville's jerseys one of the most unique in the league. Now, New Jerseys are pretty interesting. You know, I mean, I feel like people love it or hate it, but what you may not have known is that, in fact, they are another team to add a little cool design to the inside of the collar. Theirs is called the championship collar. So embedded within are the 3 Stanley Cup championship years, when they won the cup. But what might be more interesting is all the thought that was put into the design to honor the past jerseys of the New Jersey Devils. So the single stripe at the bottom honors the first hockey team in New Jersey, the Newark Bulldogs. The red collar pays tribute to the Kansas City Scouts, as they were formerly known, and also the sleeve stripes, the even sleeve stripes, were inspired by the Colorado Rockies, which they were known before they came to New Jersey. During the 95-96 and 96-97 regular seasons, the New York Islanders were proud owners of the worst logo in team history. Basically, what it was a fisherman holding a hockey stick over a wave with a net behind it. Honestly, it looked like it belonged on a box of fish sticks rather than on an NHL jersey. Thank God it only lasts 2 seasons. In 1925, the New York Americans joined the National Hockey League and played their home games at the old Madison Square Garden. Tex Rickard, who owned the arena, decided he wanted his own NHL team, which he was awarded in 1926. The team was immediately dubbed Texas Rangers, as a pun referencing the paramilitary force founded in Texas during the 1830s. However, the New York Americans folded in 1942, while Texas Rangers remain and are currently named the New York Rangers. Now, Ottawa Senators' story is kind of interesting. What we do know is the club logo is officially the head of a Roman general, who is a member of the Senate of the Roman Republic. What's also true is Canada's federal government is housed in Ottawa. So the senators, the members of the Senate of Canada, who are appointed by the Governor General on advice of the Prime Minister, so their logo is the head of a Roman general, but they're called the Senators perhaps because they're in Ottawa and there's lots of government happening there, and that's where senators are. So, we'll never know. Maybe it's a bit of both. Like most new expansion era teams, the Philadelphia Flyers ran a Name the Team contest, and it was kind of rigged. So the origin story of the name actually comes from the original owner Ed Snyder's sister, Phyllis, who on their way home after a Broadway show were looking for a stopper name for their hockey team. And Phyllis was just thinking of people skating and sliding around the ice, and she thought Flyers would sound nice, as it just popped into her head. But the Flyers were still running the Name the Team contest, so they waited until they received a number of entries with Flyers as a suggestion, and they picked a 9-year-old boy named Alex Stockard to win the prize. Funny enough, he actually submitted his Flyers spelled with an I, but they just changed it to a Y because it sounded better and looked better, and they pretty much wrapped up the contest and moved on from there. So the Pittsburgh Penguins became the Penguins because of a simple, thought analogy that popped into your head. The original Penguins arena was called the Igloo, and what kind of animals are associated with igloos? Well, penguins. Another interesting fact is that the original logo had a triangle, and the current one now still does. That represents the golden triangle of downtown Pittsburgh. Now, funny enough, the San Jose Sharks logo has actually been theorized to build on, you could say, the Pittsburgh Penguins logo. So there's a GIF that I found on the internet about how the Sharks logo came to be, and this kind of came out at the time last year when the Sharks were facing the Penguins in the Stanley Cup Final. So, Sharks potentially eat penguins, and so it's possible that the Penguins logo had a penguin just skating by casually, and then all of a sudden a shark comes and eats it, takes his stick and holds it in his mouth, and that's how the Sharks logo was born. In reality, it makes sense that they're the San Jose Sharks because they're in the Bay Area near the Pacific Ocean, where there probably is a ton of sharks, and it's just a scary name. San Jose Sharks, you don't want to go up against a team name like that. St. Louis was one of the other jerseys that Adidas redesigned, gave them the white numbers in the back, but what's more interesting is another one of those teams with an inside collar design for St. Louis. They have their own state flag in the collar design, so that's pretty neat. Although it's a pretty young team, the Tampa Bay Lightning have a pretty interesting story. So, Phil Esposito, the team owner, was thinking up of a name one day during a typical storm that happens in southern Florida. So he was just thinking, brainstorming, walking around his office, doing what you do when you brainstorm, and a bolt of lightning struck. And a bolt of lightning struck in his head, and he put it together, and now they're called the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, the new Toronto Maple Leafs logo was unveiled last year in order to commemorate 100 years of history. So it's actually really, really interesting. It just looks like a leaf. It just looks like they change it up a little bit, but there's actually very, very subtle details that, you know, make it a very special logo for the team. So to start off, you'll see the number of points on the leaf. There are 31 of them, and the new Maple Leaf has 31 points, which is a nod to the year 1931 and a defining moment in the team's history when they opened Maple Leaf Gardens. The new badge also contains a total of 17 veins on the leaf, which represents the year that the team was founded in 1917. And lastly, there are 13 veins on the top of the logo in order to commemorate the club's total number of Stanley Cup championships. There are a couple interesting facts with two of Vancouver's different logos. So the one we all know was designed by Vancouver artist Brent Lynch, introduced in 1997, which features a breaching killer whale breaking out of a patch of ice. It's also in the shape of a C, if you didn't know. But one that I found even more interesting was on my baseball hat here. I didn't even realize. For the longest time, I was looking at this logo just thinking that, you know, it was a circle with colorful lines and Canucks in it, and that was it. And I thought that was the most uncreative thing ever. But then I had to look at it the other day, and it's actually a skate with Canucks in the blade, and it's the shape of a boot. It's just, you know, hard to tell because it's made of lines rather than a solid skate. And that made me feel really stupid after. Now, the Vegas jerseys are a big point of contention here. A lot of you loved it, a lot of you hated it. So there's some arguments with, you know, why the color choice. But I think the most interesting part of their jersey is the little details in the golden armband. All right, so as you can see in a little zoom up here, is that it actually features a design, and this design is sagebrush, which is the state symbol of Nevada. All I'm saying is, don't trash it until you learn the history. Washington's logo features 3 stars to represent the 3 primary geographic areas, Maryland, DC, and Virginia, that support the team. Also, on one of their other main logos, the eagle and the Capitol building come together to create a very American W for Washington. And last but not least, the new Winnipeg Jets have an interesting story behind their logo. So the Canadian Department of Defense actually gives them orders on how they can and cannot use the logo. It's spelled out in a 9-page contract, and it's all based on controlling how the military-themed emblem is represented. The new logo is based on that of the Royal Canadian Air Force, features a silhouetted CF-18 Hornet atop a stylized red maple leaf for Canada, of course, surrounded by a navy blue and gray circle, known in military terms as a roundel. Alright guys, so that about wraps up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you learned from this video. Drop a like on the video if you want to see more of these history research type videos. And until next time, I'll see you guys in the next one.